Firstly, thank you, James. Appreciate the introduction. Starting by embarrassing me, which is fantastic. Guys, I'm going to rocket through this as quickly as I can. You'll need to concentrate to keep up. And I'm going to give you a bit of a maths lesson. I'm taking us back to some basics today. A timely reminder for me that sales and prospecting particularly should and will always be a numbers game. Now, I know that's a controversial topic. I know that people will argue that we should be focusing on quality and not quantity. And my point here is not that they're mutually exclusive. It's not that the quality piece shouldn't be a focus. It's that by measuring the metrics behind your outbound program, you will always be able to focus in the right areas. I'm going to walk you through an example. If you don't like maths, just trust me on the numbers. There's a bit of rounding here, but this is a real example. To give you some context, on the left-hand side here, we've got a SaaS platform in the UK. They have a contribution target of 3.6 million of revenue every year. In order to achieve that, they know they have to sit and attend 100 demos or meetings every month. They have an ARR, an annual recurring revenue of 20K per client or per account. We make an assumption there's 21 work days in a month to keep the maths nice and simple. And in their team, they have 5 reps. So just try and remember that context. It's on the screen there for you. I'm going to walk you through their outbound program and the things that happened to increase the numbers using the multiplication theory. And I don't think we'll believe the end result. Now, a couple of things to point out here. One is that it's always true that the more you do of something, the better you get at it. So the quality naturally increases, but also the more you do of something, the more chance you have of success. It's also true that measuring something drives behavior. If you understand your data and the metrics behind something, you'll always make better decisions as a result. So again, this isn't a quantity versus quality thing. This is about just how important quantity and measurements will always be. Now, for this example, I've just focused on their phone calls. You could use this logic with emails, replies, open rates, the size of paragraphs and emails, or the number of paragraphs, the copy. You could use it with LinkedIn. You could use it with video outreach, anything you like. But to keep it simple, and hopefully everybody follows, we're looking at phone calls. So this team makes 100 calls a day per rep. They see a 10% dial to connect ratio. So 10 in 100 calls lands with a decision maker. So that results in 10 conversations per day per rep. Of those, 12% of those conversations result in a meeting. Okay, that means that each rep is generating 1.2 meetings per day, or across the team of 5 reps, they're generating 6 meetings per day. There are 21 work days in a month. That means that they book 126 meetings every calendar month on average. Of course, there's fluctuation. Now, of those, 80% of those meetings turn up. They actually sit when they're set. Okay, that means that they attend 100 meetings a month. Let's go back to the targets. Really good. We're on target, sitting there 100. In terms of what happens with those meetings, those 100 meetings, they see a 15% closed won ratio from those. So 15 out of 100 meetings turn into a paying new logo, new client. Their average AOV is 20K. Do the maths. That gets us to a contribution of £300,000 ARR won by that team for every month that they work. Multiplied by 12 months, 3.6 million. Now, I've rocketed through the numbers. They're all on the screen there for you, but hopefully that just gives you a sense of what's happening now. What I'm going to do now is walk back through those numbers, mention a couple of changes that were made and how they tweaked the numbers by 1% or 2% and the difference that makes with the multiplication theory at the end of it. Here's that same example. The first thing was we asked the team to increase their calls per day to 110. We're only talking about 10 extra calls per day. Now, the key thing here is a good leader doesn't go to their team and say, I need you to do more, but I'm not going to help you to achieve that. So in order to do that, there are 2 things that happened. Firstly, we reduced the number of internal meetings. HubSpot says that reps on average spend less than 80% of their time actually selling, with the rest being in internal meetings or doing desk-based things that are non-sales focused. So in order to support them, we're going to reduce the number of internal meetings. We're also going to give them a core pool of data that they can target so that they don't have to build all of their own data, something that can take a lot of time. And we're going to ask them to reduce their research time pre every call by 30 seconds or a minute. Very easily, we can see that increasing by roughly 1 extra call or 1.2 calls per hour. We're then going to look to get a 2 in 100 increase on the dial to connect ratio. We're talking about 2 people in every 100 that you phone answering the phone or talking to you that didn't before. Now, most people would look at training people around how to handle gatekeepers. I'm going to look at 3 things here. The first thing is asking for mobile numbers. We should be encouraging our reps on every call to ask for mobile numbers. You'd be surprised by how many organizations, particularly now with remote working, will give those out. We're also asking for direct dials, and we're giving our team something like Lusher so that they can find direct dials and mobiles online for themselves. These changes alone allowed us to get an extra 2 in 100 people. Not a big increase, but enough to really contribute to impact on the numbers. Those extra 10 calls and 2 in 100 people spoken to got us to 13.2 conversations per day. That's over a 30% increase in the number of people we were able to speak to by impacting on 2 very small parts of the process or steps in the process. We then wanted to get the conversion rate up. We didn't want to be unrealistic and say, let's go from 12 to 20%. We wanted to get 1 percentage point. Now, again, most of the reps most of the leaders we speak to say that they would try and do that through enablement, more training. The problem is twofold. One, it takes time to impact, and the other is it's not guaranteed. Now, by looking at the numbers, the metrics and the data, we were able to analyze industry trends. We targeted 5 industries on that program. The first one, manufacturing, retail, hospitality, wholesale, and pharmaceutical. What we learned by segmenting the data was that the pharmaceutical was only converting at 6%. If we only targeted the 4 industries that weren't converting at the lowest, our conversion rate was 13%. Now, the great thing about that is that we had the data telling us that, and we were able to affect the conversion rate to meeting overnight. Because all we did was stop pharmaceutical data being touched and focus our reps from tomorrow on those 4 instead of the 5 industries. All they had to do was keep doing the same thing, and any training and enablement was then a bonus above and beyond that. With those changes, that got us to 1.7 meetings per rep per day, or 8.6 instead of 6 across the 5 reps each day. Now, I can't do anything about the 21 work days in a month, but the result of that meant that we're now booking 180 meetings across the 5 reps every single month, a huge increase. We then wanted to impact on the attendance rate. We did 3 things. Firstly, we asked SDRs to send a video message into the inbox of the prospect after the meeting was set. It personalized the journey a little more. Thanks for agreeing to meet. I'm going to hand over to the AE. Here's what they're going to talk about. Let me know if you've got any questions. Putting a face to the name. We also asked the AE to do exactly the same thing in between the period of setting the meeting and sitting the meeting. So a little video to say, looking forward to meeting you. Here are the things that we're going to talk about. This is what I understand from the SDR. We sent an SMS and or a WhatsApp message within 24 hours of the meeting to remind people. And of course, we did the usual calendar invite and confirmation email. What that meant, though, is that we got up to 153 attended meetings on average per month. You're already seeing a 50% increase. All we've done is affected 4 trigger points or action points, 10 more calls a day, 2 extra people in 100 we're getting hold of and speaking to. 1 in 100 people that we speak to is booking a meeting more than was before, and 5 in 100 people are turning up that otherwise wouldn't have. Those 153 attended meetings, we wanted to look at the close won ratio and get it up to 18%. Now, that's not easy. We'd already affected it, though, because we'd learned that the pharmaceutical was less relevant as an offering. So we knew that the pharmaceutical industry no longer being our pipeline would increase our conversion rate somewhat. But also, we created a sweeper role. So for those of you that don't know what that is, and credit to Tim Johnson at VisualSoft for teaching me this, it was a role where when we got a closed lost deal, we got another rep to phone back in and simply say, look, I understand you didn't choose to buy from us. We take quality in our organization really seriously. I'd love to get 5 minutes of your time just to get some really honest and open feedback on what we can learn from that process and what we can take into future deals. What we found is that a percentage of those reactivated, either because they really connected with the other rep and they realized that that was a better connection, or because something was uncovered in their feedback that we were able to objection handle and reactivate. It's not a big increase. We're talking about three more in 100 people than we were there before. What that did, though, was nearly double the number of clients that we were able to win from that account. Now, you'll see the numbers double. I'm not done with this until we get to double. We've made minor changes in 5 areas and we're nearly there. So the next thing we want to go and do is look at sales value. Now, there are 100 users on average in each account for this client. 100 users, an average of about 16 pounds, 17 pounds per user per month. By affecting that up to 18 pounds, just an extra pound a month a user, that got our sales value up to roughly 22,000. Now that made the difference of getting us to 300,000 to 600,000. That extra pound an hour wasn't something that put people off. It didn't really impact on the conversion rates in this example, but also, more importantly, we only implemented it for new clients. So it was a forward change. But what I did in this example was show that that 3.6 million could double to 7.2 million. 7.2 million, a double. Most of the people I speak to, if I say you need to double the revenue contribution of your SDR team, do one of 3 things or a combination of. They look at more training, better training and enablement for their reps, better technology, which costs a huge amount of money, or they think about doubling their reps, which creates a huge amount of moving parts and a lot of room for failure. This is a far more efficient way of getting faster growth. That doesn't mean enablement, training, better technology, more reps shouldn't be a part of your strategy. But hopefully what we've shown today is that by focusing on the metrics and the numbers in your process, and by tweaking by 1% here, 2% there, a little bit here and a little bit there, you can make an absolutely a huge change to the end result of your sales prospecting and SDR team. And I hope today that's a timely reminder that if you've got an outbound team and you don't understand the metrics in your process in each step, that you should go and learn those, start measuring them and understand them straight away.